Hello parents, and welcome to another video blog on sports psychology for Seattle Gymnastics Academy. My name is Tamara Bodie and I am the mental skills consultant here for all four of the gyms. Now, last week I didn't have a chance to do a sports psychology blog because I was feeling a tad under the weather. So I'll go ahead and review what we've done over the last 2 weeks to update you for the kids. So first off, we start every session, as always, with a check-in. The kids had a meet, so they really just checked in with what did they think they did well, and as we did that, there's always other things that they usually tell me, like, but I struggled on this, or I had issues with this. So that was great, and it was revealing, and all of the groups were able to support each other in that. And what we actually have been doing is sticking with imagery for the most part, but also the children have requested stress management, which I thought was really interesting. I gave them options, fear, anxiety, other things they want me to sprinkle into the sports psychology, and overwhelmingly, especially the teenagers said, I really need stress management. So we watched a 5-minute video on some helpful tools and tricks to help with stress management in general. However, I also gave them information specifically for athletes on stress management. So athletes need, number one, sleep is a huge one for stress management and self-care. So we know that Division I athletes are almost 3 times as likely to become injured if they're getting fewer than 4 to 5 hours of sleep. Now, children have some worries before they go to bed, or they may not have the best sleep hygiene. So that can really affect their performance and give them an injury that's season ending or something like that. So we want to avoid that by making sure children get the appropriate amount of hours. Now, unlike adults, a middle-aged adult can function just fine off 6 to 8 hours. However, children, especially the youngest of our children, need 12 hours. They need all of that sleep. And even the teenagers, if they're feeling exhausted, I tell them, if you take a sleep for 12 hours on the weekend because you're training really hard and it's been a busy week, don't feel guilty about that. Just know that your body actually needed the rest. The second thing that we talked about is nutrition. So just like adults, children go for the cookies, the snacks, the salt, the sugar when they're stressed out. It's comfort food. And that's actually sending your body into a little bit of a disarray. So biochemically, you're not feeling on top of your game, especially for athletes. This is important. They need appropriate fuel to fuel their workouts, and then also their minds, right? So getting those carbs in to get the glycogen to the brain so they're thinking at the top of their game. If they're not thinking properly, or they're too tired, or they haven't eaten properly, then there's more likely mistakes that can happen in the gym, and that usually leads to injury. So we really want them to have appropriate amount of sleep for their age, proper nutrition. So we went over those things. And then we went over a few other things in regards to stress management and self-care. So for stress management, I encourage the kids to schedule time with friends outside of gymnastics. These may be school friends or friends from another activity or even their teammates. But the idea is to give them time away from gym where they're like having a spa night if they like, or watching a movie with their friends, really just getting their mind off of their school homework assignments, and then also off of their assignments at gym and competitions. And it's a great way to relieve stress, so that when they go back to the gym or they go back to school, they're actually being productive because they feel refreshed. The last thing I did on the first week was talk about scheduling downtime. Now, it's really easy as adults, and even as adults scheduling for children is to overbook them. So they're, in school, or they're in gym, and then they do their homework, and it's repeat, and they might have gymnastics or dance or music, and really what that leads to is mental burnout. And what we want to do to prevent that is schedule, 4-hour blocks of time, or time where it's just like, we call it chill mode. Maybe on the weekends where there's not a whole lot going on. And I tell the kids to be kind of protective of that time. If they're, overly busy during the week and they don't get that downtime, the next week they're just going to not perform at their very best. So as far as self-care and stress management goes, those are the main things we talked about for the first week. And then we got a little bit into imagery. So the theory behind the imagery technique that we used the first week is called functional equivalence. And the idea is that when you are thinking about doing a back tuck, it's similar to actually doing a back tuck in your mind. So when you do a back tuck in real life, your mind tells your body what to do, and certain areas of the brain kind of like light up or become activated. Now, we know through imaging that if an athlete is just thinking about doing a back tuck, those same areas light up just the same or in a similar pattern. So what we do to show the children in a very real way about this phenomena is we take something called a pendulum. So it's just a piece of yarn or string, and I have the kids close their eyes, and I tell them, do not move the string. Don't try to move it at all. Close your eyes and take deep breaths. Now I want you to imagine the string or the bolt going in circles. And they have to do it 6 times and then open their eyes. And lo and behold, the string is turning in circles. Now we think that this is due to micro movements. So when you're thinking about an action, you're actually getting these like micro movements, and you can see it in this pendulum because of your hand. Now you can try it in circles, swinging back and forth, or forward and backwards, and it tends to do what your brain tells it to do because of these micro movements. And this is extremely powerful for gymnasts doing visualization because they can be laying in their bed doing the proper visualization, and their muscles are firing to create that muscle memory that we want. Now, there's always a flip side to the coin. If they're crashing in their mind or they don't understand the skill, they have bad habit, and their visualization and imagery is off, then you might be actually training up a bad habit. So it's really important for us to involve the coaches, make sure that we're getting the appropriate cues, and the children understand the sequencing of the skills. And then I try to help them scaffold to continue practicing imagery. And it's not going to be perfect. They do crash in their minds or are unable to control it in the very beginning. But with practice, the kids get better. So that's generally what we did the first week. And of course, we always do takeaways at the end, like what's your favorite? What did you learn? And that was pretty powerful for the kids. I will send a link to the YouTube video so you guys can watch the stress management techniques that we gave the kids this first week. Now, for the second week, I layered on more stress management techniques. So first, we always do the check-in. So this time it was, okay, you guys can check in about a success, or you can tell me about something that you incorporated into your self-care stress management routine. So I was actually surprised that most of the children were like, oh, well, I incorporated having spearmint tea, or I incorporated trying to sleep a little bit more. And that was pretty cool to see. The next thing that we talk about is actually cognitive appraisal theory. So cognitive appraisal theory is the concept of we all have situations that happen to us. Now, it's not the situation that makes you frustrated, sad, or anxious. It is the thought that you had about the situation. So your thoughts are actually the thing that is making you anxious. So the children were able to understand this pretty well, which was exciting. And that ties in to the next thing that we did. So I did a guided imagery script, and I will also provide the guided imagery script on the email. The children just sat and they breathed deeply, and I always tell them to imagine to the best of their ability what I'm telling them to do. So the script was essentially a calming script. It started on a beach. The children were able to walk on the beach, and then they saw a White House. And in the script, they go up to the White House. But we wanted it to be relatable to children. So in the script, the kids realize that they're holding a really heavy backpack. And the backpack is filled with their worries and fears and negative thoughts. And it's just so heavy, and they finally just realize that they have that backpack on. And in the house, they're meant to slip the backpack off, climb up the stairs, and sit in a comfy chair watching a beautiful ocean outside of a window. And this was actually really powerful for the children. And I did it with the smallest kids, and I did it all the way up to with the teenagers. After the imagery script, we all went around and said what our biggest backpack is. So really where we're struggling. And I did this for a few reasons. First, I wanted the children to learn compartmentalizing. So by taking all of these loose thoughts and putting them into a backpack and zipping it up in your mind and rolling it off your shoulder, it's like taking all those problems and putting them to one area and setting them to the side so we can be mindful, so we can perform on floor after we just fell on bars, and not taking one event to the next. Now, I did the second part of sharing our biggest backpack because the groups are starting to become more cohesive now, and by sharing, school is actually my biggest backpack, or I have a really big problem with, standing back tags. That's my biggest backpack. By them sharing that with their teammates, it creates a culture of support. And we talked about, what are ways that you can support your teammates when their bars conditioning is their biggest backpack. So saying things like, you got it, I'm right behind you. Hey, this is a big backpack for me too. Let's get through it together. Those are all really helpful. And it's also a way for the kids to actually label what's going on and vent. They have a language to put to the stresses in their life, and a way we can kind of talk about compartmentalizing it and focusing on the here and now. So that was the general takeaway, is the backpacks. And I had a lot of fun over the last few weeks working with the kids on the imagery. They're getting really excited about imagery in general. The little children will tell me, I can really feel it. I can really taste what you're telling me in some of the imagery scripts. So that's great. And as always, if you have questions, please feel free to email me, or, that's a great way to get a hold of me. I'm also available via phone, and I can leave that in the email as well. So, you shoot me a text or call me, and I'd love to talk. So, thank you. Bye-bye.